Oh,
shit, hit the intro.
Season number 2. This time it's with me, not with Arlene. And as promised, I got the man of the hour, Mr. Gerardo Avila.
Hey,
Jerry Avila.
Yes.
Mr. Jerry All Day. Mr. I print money all day.
Keep going.
That's all I got, bro. That's all I got, bro.
Damn.
So I've been saying for a minute, I've been talking about you a lot during all these different podcasts. Jerry is my right-hand man, my partner in not only Sworn, but I think of a couple other businesses, you would say.
Yeah.
In a sense. We came up from the mud, we talked about this a little bit off camera, how your route to where you are now is a little non-traditional. You did the whole retail thing. You worked at Vans for a minute. You went to school, and then everything just shifted complete 180, and then you dropped everything, right? Tell us a little about your story and how you came to be the man you are today.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Jerry.
You can't take yourself that serious, can you?
No. This is you're hyping me up too much, and I'm trying to fulfill that need. First off, do I look there or here?
You can look wherever you want, bro.
So, how far do I go back?
Tell me a little bit about your journey and where you started. We can start back at Vans. I think that's the earliest I know of you. I know you did some fucking construction before that, but
all right. So I grew up in Wilmington. Shout out Wilmington, California.
Hey.
I started working at the Vans store the day I turned 16. Well, the day after I turned 16.
Damn.
Both of my sisters were like store managers at the Vans store. I thought I had the coolest job in the world. I thought they were the coolest. Like, I would just go and be like, I just wanted to be around everybody.
Yeah.
It was like, everyone had tattoos. Everyone was cool, like piercings. I was like...
At the time, you were very, greaser?
Yeah.
I mean, your name was Greasy Jerry at the time,
Greasy
right?
Jerry, yeah. Still exists.
Slick back hair and all that?
Check out. Add me on PSN, PlayStation Network. Let's go. So I was like, man, this is like the coolest people in the world. It was like very punk rock. It was like dope.
Like your scene.
It was my scene.
Yeah.
Outgrew that. I turned 18. I started working at Home Depot. That was like...
What made you shift from Vans to Home Depot?
I think I just outgrew the Vans thing, and I was making like, I mean, the year was
1919.
that was 16 years ago. I think I was making like $8.75 an hour.
Okay,
which was.
But I mean, at 16 years old, that
was fire.
Better than nothing.
No rent, no nothing. So I was like, man, I was living a dream.
Right.
And I had keys to the store. Let's go. And then I was talking to somebody, and they were like, "Yo, Home Depot starts everyone off at like $13," and I was like, "What?"
Right.
So I instantly applied, had an interview like a month later.
Right.
And I'm on top of the world, working like 20 hours, going to school, going to community college,
working less, making more than you were at Vans.
Yeah, everyone again. I'm in this new world of everyone's cool as hell. Everyone's over 21. Everyone's drinking. Everyone's partying. I'm like, this is it.
Right.
I made it. With that, I was going to Harbor College straight out of high school,
right,
which is community college, just kind of like, something to do, something to keep mom happy.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Is that something that you felt you had to do just because your family kind of expected you to do that? Or did you have a need to go to college or what did you want to do outside of like Home Depot? Or is there anything that you thought about that you wanted to be before that?
In high school, at least maybe I didn't pay attention. Maybe I was doing some other shit, but I had like no career counselor. I didn't have anybody to be like, hey, if you really stick to it, you can go to USC. I was just like,
right. And I think that's a thing that happens in a lot of different schools in LA. Like, there's no real. It's like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, but there's nothing in between that. That doesn't fill everybody.
Yeah, like the entrepreneur thing did not exist.
For sure.
So, but my sister has a doctorate. My other sister went to school, but everyone like went to Harbor College. It was like in my neighborhood. It was a couple miles away, and it was just like
it's convenient.
The next stepping stone.
Right.
And from there, you kind of navigate through life.
Okay.
So went to Harbor College, graduated from there with my associates. Came time to transfer. Looked at Cal State Dominguez. That was like...
Again, because it was convenient?
My sister went there.
Yeah.
I went there. It was just kind of like...
So there was no real, like, you didn't have a desire to go to college and graduate. Like, it was really just like, eh.
Well, I applied to Fullerton. I applied to Long Beach. Got into Fullerton. Got into Riverside. But it was just like...
Shout Long Beach.
I was just like,
Yeah.
This was easy. It was, again, it was...
convenient.
It was convenient. It was...
Right.
People described it as like a drive-through school.
Yeah.
Where you can just go. You can still work. Your lifestyle really doesn't change. It's kind of like a continuation of community college.
Right.
It came down to like graduate. It was like 2 months before I graduated, and I was just like, all right, I'm 20 years old. Like,
Now what?
Now what? Do I continue going to school? Because
you're still at Home Depot at the time, right?
I was still at Home Depot, and I was like, do I just continue going to school and like work at Home Depot and try to be a manager? Like,
that was low key the dream for a lot of people at Home Depot. If you start at Home Depot, they hire within, so you're able to go from like associate to like manager, assistant manager, store manager, district manager, and make great money.
Yeah, there's people making like.
There's a truck outside, so you can hear the feedback outside.
Yeah, there's one of my buddies that still works there. Shout out to Art, like driving the Audi, like he living the life, like like people are making 6 figures. Like
there's nothing wrong with Home Depot, but I think for you, you felt early on that wasn't the life you wanted.
No,
right?
I mean you still got to show up every day. Like you have to ask permission. like there's different rules in a corporate environment than what I'm used to now.
Right.
But I didn't know those things existed, so I was just kind of like working. That was my dream. It was like, because I see people at Home Depot that were like, "How long you been here? 20 years. I've been here X years."
Right.
And
I mean, it's a good job. They have stock options, all that kind of stuff, benefits.
I worked there for 5 years. I mean, I was getting 8 hours of vacation. I was getting sick pay. Like, come and go as I please.
You're doing it right.
I was living like again. I thought I had made it once again.
Right.
But this is in the early stages of Instagram. I remember sitting at Cal State Dominguez and studying for something, and I saw Instagram posts. It was the early stages of Instagram. It was like this brand was like looking for interns, and I was just like, huh.
It was a clothing brand, right?
It was a clothing brand, and I was watching YouTube a lot. It was this guy named Timothy DeLaGhetto, and they had visited their office, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? Like, what is this fashion thing? Like, like these guys are having so much fun at work.
It was way different than a Home Depot corporate buttoned up job.
Exactly. I was just like, let me apply. Like, let me put together this quick resume. Let me send it off and see what happens.
Right.
Put the resume together, sent it off. Shout out to JJ. JJ sent me back an email, and he was like, come through. So I showed up wearing a fucking suit, like all buttoned up.
This was a men's apparel brand, streetwear. So you showed up in the suit, and everybody's looking at you like, what the fuck is this guy?
Sweatpants, like it's different. I was in over my head.
For sure.
But like I knew nothing else but to like dress to impress. So pulled up, like I feel like I killed the interview. I was more, now that I look back interviewing people, like I think I did pretty good on that interview. JJ like hit me back up and he was like, yo, got it. Then JJ went ghost for like a month, and I was just like, hey guy,
so
like are we still doing this? Right? And it was just like, he had a lot of things on his plate, and he's like, oh shit, my bad, like come through.
Right.
So working there again, I'm surrounded by people. I'm like, there's only like 4 people in the company, and I'm really making an impact. I'm like trying. I'm driving from Wilmington to Hollywood or Studio City every day, like 4 times a week. Like my education kind of gets put on the back burner, and this becomes so I really kind of dive into it.
And the dope part about startups is that you said there's only 4 people, so you're not only doing whatever you got the job for, you're doing a little bit of everything and stepping into everybody's world, so you get very well rounded in the experience. So I think that's why I always preach like intern wherever you can, because you can learn so much more there than you can in any class.
Yeah, and with any internship is like, anytime someone applies for internship, I always tell them like, yo, what you put in is what you'll get out. So if you sit there and just ask me questions all day, I'll answer them because I love to talk.
I know.
And I'll answer them, and I'll teach you what you need to know, but you need to come with the questions. I can't do your homework for you. I can't guide you and tell you what you need to do. Right. You got to like come to me with ideas and move around. So I was just like, why don't you guys do this? Why don't you guys, again, I worked at the van store, worked at Home Depot. And
this is you genuinely curious, because you this is a new world to you. So it wasn't you like purpose. I don't think you were purposely mentally like, I'm going to fucking take everything. It was more of like, yo, why do you guys do this? Why do you guys do that? And I think the curiosity and the ignorance is kind of worked in your favor, right?
Oh, 100%, because I'm willing to almost say anything. And
there's no dumb question.
Yeah, and I'm like, but why? And it's like, oh, okay. And I'll keep, if I really feel passionate about something, like Barry knows, like, I'm going to keep.
You keep jabbing at that shit.
I'm going to keep going until you're just like, yo, just fucking do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
And I'm like,
show me I'm wrong.
And I like, told you so.
Right, yeah.
So I was doing that. I was there for like a month. They had a warehouse manager guy that was just, one day he was just like, fuck it, I quit. And like, and I was driving home, and the owner of the brand called me up. He's like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, how do you feel about like managing the warehouse? And I was just like, I'm down. Like,
it's a paid job now.
Yeah,
like,
it's paid.
You're interning for free, right?
I was interning for free, 100% for free, and I was driving every day. And he's like, how do you feel about that? How does it fit in with your schedule? And I was like, I'll make it work.
Right.
So I go just to weekends at Home Depot, and I'm driving to, I think the warehouse was in Pacoima.
Right.
So I was driving there every day knocking out the orders. I was doing everything I could while still kind of like fulfilling this intern role of like them kind of just picking my brain. They used to call me Hypebeast Jerry.
Yeah.
HBJ.
Let's go.
Because I was always seeing what everyone was doing, all these other brands. I was kind of like, I was always curious. I think I killed it at the warehouse. And then the next position was the sales manager there was quitting.
Right.
Or had found a new opportunity. So it was like, boss approached me and he's like, hey, what do you think about like sales? And I'm like, okay. Like, again,
sure.
I'm on top of those. He's like, you're going to be working with like our big accounts, like our big door accounts, which was like Zoomies, DTLR, like big retailers.
That's the dope thing about work. Like I said, a startup is it's a small team. So you already saw kind of how everything works. So it wasn't scary like sales, like, fuck, do I need to know this? Like, it was kind of like, I know what he did and I can probably figure that out.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the product was there. So it was just like sending someone a catalog and being like,
following up.
Do you fuck with it? Do you not fuck with it?
Right.
And the brand was hot. So it made the job easier. As long as you can fulfill on the back end,
right,
it was no problem. Everything was done with long lead time. So I was like, you place the order in January to deliver in April. So it was cool. And with that came production manager. So I became in charge of like not only selling the stuff, but shipping the stuff.
Right.
But just overseeing it from like a distance.
Okay.
And I was still kind of managing the warehouse. I was all that kind of like, so the boss could do more things. Yeah. He kind of gave me free range to control
production.
These
Full production
things.
was all based on you, I think. Right?
Yeah. So that whole circle of tools.
Right.
And then as the business kept growing, I was there for 5 years, like 4.5, 5 years.
Yeah.
Then came like an operations manager. I was really cool with like the CFOs, and I would ask questions. Why did we do this? Yeah. How do we do this? And I was kind of
compound interest.
Shout out to
Josh
Money Fisher.
There you go.
Taught me about compound interest. Yeah. Just like this guy, he was older, but again, if you were willing to ask the questions, he'll talk to you. And he was a little out of his element. He was an older Jewish guy
with a bunch of young streetwear kids.
Young, like he didn't get it, but
he was handling money, and it's like that he knew money and he knew how to make things work. So I think you kind of soaked up a lot from him, and I think you take some of that to this day.
Yeah, and he's willing to like tell me stuff. Like he was willing to like, hey, this is why you do this. This is why you don't do this. And he still texts me from time to time just to see how I'm doing. That's or he like the other day he texted me, he's like, my kid said that was savage, and I was just like, it reminded me of you. That's like
21.
That's how like the time we were in.
Right.
So that came to like operations manager. So now I was overseeing like everything on a grand scheme. Grand scheme.
Grand scheme.
Oh, man.
The dyslexia kicking in.
Yeah, I'm also dyslexic.
That's cool.
So yeah, like I became the operations manager, and I was overseeing like production, again the warehouse, everything I was already doing, but it just had like a sexy title.
And with that came a little bit of bigger pay, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was getting paid commission on sales. I was getting,
and the accounts were pretty big, so the commission was, I'm assuming, was not. I don't really know actually the details of it, but I know we had Zoomies, Foot Action, Foot Locker, DTLR, these big box retailers.
Yeah, I mean our biggest retailer at the time was Foot Action. We had just opened Kids Foot Locker. We were doing DTLR, Zoomies. Online store was buzzing.
So he was rich.
Who?
You.
Ah, no. I was like, who's rich? Nah. I was, I didn't have any expenses. I lived with my parents.
Yeah, I think you were still young at the time, right? Like under 25.
I was flipping the Camry. Yeah. Like it was paid off. Like it was salvaged.
Shout out to the salvaged Camry. Yo, don't knock the Camry.
Yeah, I was living. Like again, I was having fun. Like I was getting paid well. I was happy.
I remember we go to the clubs with the team, and you would just like buy at the bars, like, you want a shot, you want a shot, you want a shot, and I'm just like, he's buying shots, fuck it.
Hey man, like every time I left the house, I was there to have fun.
Yeah.
Like it was a very fun time in my life.
For sure.
But and that kind of molded me to the person I am today. Like I was surrounded. That was the first time I was surrounded by like different races, like different personalities, and everyone was themselves. No one had to like conform to this.
You weren't buttoned up. This wasn't corporate. It was very like we got you because of you. We didn't get you. You know?
And those people were interested in you, not what you could do for them. So that was like very interesting.
Right.
So working there, I finally was just like, I was over it.
Okay.
This was.
But what do you think? That was my next question. Was going to be like, what? It sounds like it was a great opportunity, and I mean, I'm a little biased because I was in that situation with you. I was also working with you there, but I'm gonna act like I wasn't.
Yeah.
So what there changed that made you feel like? Because it sounds like it was cool, and it's kind of like, what happened? What made you decide like this isn't it for me anymore?
This was like the early stages of like the Gary V entrepreneurism, like it really being in your face. This was what, 5 years ago?
This was like 2014, 15 probably.
Yes, I was listening to podcasts, like self-improvement things, and I was just like, it was like, are you happy? Are you this? And I was just like, yes, no. Like
checking your boxes?
Yeah, I was just like, yo, I'm unhappy. Like, I don't like being here. It's not fun anymore. I wasn't interacting with the team the same way. Like, people were taking shots during the day, and I was just like,
we still got to get shit done.
Like, as soon as I take, like, that's why I don't drink at work. Yeah. Like, people will come through, let's take a shot. I'll be like, no, because once it touched my lips, like, it's party time. Like, it's time to go. So, like, I don't even drink that much anymore because it takes me out of my zone.
Unless they're, what are they, White Claws?
Yeah, unless they're partying. Okay. Or on vacation. Okay. But, like, again, that showed me, like, just that simple thing of not drinking at work was a big thing I took with me further. So, yeah, I was just unhappy. Like, I felt like I was being excluded too. Like, I no longer had a seat at the table, and like my word was not important.
And at the time, you were still handling all the production throughout. I think you had a big role in the company, and for you to feel excluded, I think was a little strange.
Yeah, it's like, when you're being X'd out on like, and I felt it.
Right.
And I, again, unhappy. I was just like, I would go to work, but I mean, I used to get there at 10, stay till 9. Like, not only because traffic was bad, but like,
there was
shit to do. Yeah. And, when I got to that point, I was like, I was working my hours. I was working from X to X. Like,
and it was such an untraditional job that I don't think we didn't get paid overtime. It was kind of salary. It's kind of like you get paid for your 40 hours, and it's kind of like if you stay till 9, that's on you.
Yeah, the boss knew what he was doing. Come 7 o'clock, time to leave. You turn up the music. Like,
it's like, it's a cool area to kick it at. Like, let's hang out and like, let's have this conversation. It's about work.
Yeah. And he knew how to get more out of people.
Everybody was young too.
He was very smart.
Yeah.
And he know what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
And like, again, but I was just unhappy. I like mentally broke up with it.
Yeah.
It was just time to do the physical thing.
Okay.
One of the biggest Gary Vee things was like, if this shit don't work out, you can start from zero. Like
we're young enough to figure it out. Like you were young enough to fail and like just go for it.
Yeah. Like if I gotta figure it, I'll wash cars if I have to. I'm not like
there's ways to make money. I think that was always my reasoning also. That's kind of why I just dipped the way I did, because I was like, I had no savings, I had no plans, I had none of that shit. But I was like, if I have to, I have enough skill set to figure out how to make money. I can DJ parties, I can do weddings, I can, even if I sell myself short a little bit, I'll figure out how to make that income to make it make sense.
Yeah, like, man, I've had so many. When I used to work at Home Depot, I worked in the tile department, and I used to fucking put down people's tile. Like, I'd just be like, they'd be like, oh, do you know somebody? And I was like, how big is the space? We need to know about it.
Figure shit out.
I get me and my homie, we'd go knock it out. And it was just like, shit, I burn CDs. Like,
and I think that's kind of a very important trait for these quote unquote entrepreneurs, where it's like people usually are scared to take that leap of faith. And it's like, no, like if you really have it in you, you'll figure it out. Like I said, like if it's doing tile, if it's DJing parties, if it's designing websites, if it's whatever, what up, Danny? We'll figure it out. So I think that's kind of something that I think separates, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship as a whole, like, can you really figure shit out like that?
Yeah, like, again, expenses were low. I didn't have a family to feed. Like, if it failed or if I failed, I can always go get a job. I can always go, maybe entrepreneurism isn't for me.
Right.
Maybe it was going back to Home Depots. It was easy.
Yeah.
I mean, if, God forbid, if all this ended tomorrow, man, I'd go wash cars. Like it's beyond my, like, nothing wrong with cars, but like, I think I can go get a job pretty easy. Yeah, like, I've done enough. I have enough experience.
For sure.
That I'd be fine.
Right. So, unhappy, decided to leave the business. How did that pan out with you and the relationship with the whole business as a whole, that where you were at and all that?
Man, it took me like a month to quit. Like, I couldn't emotionally do it.
I remember I would tell you, like, yo, like, come on, bro. Like, if you do this, like, we'll go all in. Like, at the time, I think I was like 50%, like, starting Sworn and like figuring that shit out. And I think I also ended up picking up another job. And I was like, come on, bro. Like, if you do it, I'm out. Like, I'm fully committed. I'll figure some shit out. Like, let's go. And you were like, maybe in May, maybe in da-da-da. And you were giving me the runaround. And I think that month came by, and I was like, yo, like, it's the month you said it was. Like, what's up?
I was very emotionally tied to it. It was almost like my own, like, again, I'd been there when the company was 6 months old, and I didn't want to see it fail. I felt like I was very important in it. So having that conversation was difficult. Like finally, I just it's like breaking up with somebody. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, here it goes.
Right.
Did it. Walked away for like 20 minutes. I wanted to just go like walk around the parking lot and just like
yeah. Breath of fresh air.
Brett, like, okay, well, it's done. Like my 2 weeks. Yeah, I ended up leaving like a month after that.
Yeah.
He was like, yo, just let me like transition out. Like, and I was like, cool. Like,
Yeah.
no problem. Like, again, I didn't want anything negative to happen. I wanted all positive vibes.
Yeah, I think the biggest part was that conversation. And once that was done, I think you felt very like weight lifted.
Weight was lifted. Then it was just like, all right, now like let's go fucking full throttle at this thing.
Yeah.
So after I left, I was talking to Barry and I was like, all right, if we get an office, we're gonna have to be there every day.
We gotta pay rent.
We have to pay rent, so like we have to be there. So we started looking at offices. We ended up at WeWork in downtown LA. I think rent was like $650.
Some shit like that.
Man, that shit was like my restroom at home was bigger.
Yeah.
But it was enough to fit like 2 desks and a little clothing
It was
rack.
a little flex because they had the common area. You bring people in. They had beer on tap. That was like the biggest selling point. You can get coffee. You got beer on tap. Like, what's
Yeah.
up? And you got conference rooms.
It was the early stages of WeWork. We had never seen it, but like internet was paid for.
Right.
Like you didn't have to buy desks. You didn't have to buy anything. So it was
Yeah.
just like you pull up, there it is. And it was no one would ever see your office.
Yeah.
Because it was conference rooms. It
And
was
then if you
cool
give
living
somebody
room.
your address is like 555 West 5th Street, Los Angeles, California.
Gaslamp
it's
Tower.
It's at the gas tower next to the U.S. Bank Tower. So, you know,
And it
little
was
flex.
It was a flex. It was again. It was dope. Bringing people there, showing them this,
Yeah.
and then like as we were growing, getting it, we became really cool with like the guy that was managing the place.
Right.
And he's like, I got this 4-desk unit with a view.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And it's like, how much more is this? I think it was like $200 more.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
like, I think we did like a 6-month lease.
I
on
think
that.
we just had to commit to 6 months.
Yeah, and like again, it was dope. But then we had like a warehouse, we had a studio, we had like 3 different locations.
It didn't make
we had
sense.
To manage. It was, and we had to pay for parking, so it was
Right.
just like difficult.
Yeah.
So I started looking at warehouses, and we ended up on a warehouse. This warehouse.
Yeah.
And-
I think we can bypass like the little details of like Sworn just because I want to focus more on you and like your journey.
Okay.
And I think here you handle our like here at Sworn, we're at the office. If you guys can't tell, it's a little different than my living room. Here at the office, you handle most production. I mean, you can fucking explain it.
I mean, I do everything.
Again, very startup. So it's literally 3 of us, and we handle everything from shipping orders, customer service, producing the items, fucking quality control, getting shit done, taking stuff to our vendors, like picking stuff up. Like everything is super hands-on here, and I think everybody takes a little bit of everything. But I think you in particular, like you make sure our product gets done, and you make sure the product is done right. So I think that's a big role on your end, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do everything from sourcing the product to making the product to seeing the product get made to QCing the product to shipping the product.
And this is all stuff that you picked up on at your previous spot. So it's kind of like it was turnkey for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was all stuff. I mean, you just change the tag out on something like I
Yeah.
can go do this for any other brand.
Right.
But this is just more personal to me.
Right.
So, yeah, like my morning today started off, I went to the vendor, picked up some of our hats, dropped packages off at our international shipping spot. That's our like
APC.
APC. Came here, started the podcast, and we're going to have to ship some orders, do some marketing
A lot
stuff.
of fucking orders, from what I see.
I mean, it's just everything that you need to do is done in this roof.
And again, it's just 3 of us, so it's very hands-on. Like everything gets done by us.
Yeah, and like, what you put in is what you get out.
Is this what you envisioned, or what more do you want? What do you see this going? Like, what's your next goal now?
It took a while to get to where we are today.
For sure.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
A long, like, will we make it? Is this all going to end tomorrow? Like, when Corona first started,
Yeah.
like, I was just like, this is it. Like, I was talking to Barry. I was like, yo, how do we navigate through this? Because everything's closed.
It can make or break a company.
And I was just like, all right, like, what are people going to be doing? All right, they're going to be chilling at home, like, loungewear.
Right.
So we went heavy shorts. No one can get haircuts. We went heavy hats.
Right.
And that paid off. So we, like, scrapped through that. I mean, to this day, we're like, yo,
How is this happening?
how is business proceeding? Will we make it next month?
Right.
Will, like, what do we do?
And that's not to say that the business is in the red. Like we're a very positive cash flow business, but I think we treat each month like it's our last month, and it's kind of like this shit can really end tomorrow. So I think that's kind of our mindset, our mentality, and I think we don't have any backing from any investors. We don't have any wholesale accounts. Like it literally is every fucking day matters.
Yeah, and we want to make, like, Barry's always like, let's do this, and I'm like, bro, like, you know, this is the number, and this is how much it costs, and this is the return. I have to, like,
Scare money don't make money, fam.
And he stays on that.
Yep.
Barry, if I gave him money right now, he'd blow it and be like, all right, let's figure it out.
Blow it? I don't know. Flip it different.
Okay. I would be like, all right, let's talk, like, all right, what could we do with this? What could we do with that? So
you try to stretch out your dollar as much as possible. I respect that.
I operate very, like, I tiptoe a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that would be, like, one of my biggest, like, negatives.
It can be seen both ways.
Yeah, it's like my big positive and big negative in a way. But what were we talking about? What was the question?
Where do you, like, leaving a comfortable job from Home Depot? You left that. You left the previous company that had obviously like a steady paycheck, commission, benefits, all that kind of stuff, to now jumping ship, doing your own thing. And, you know, is this now what you expected it to be? What would you do differently, or what is it something that you would make sure people understand before taking that leap of faith?
You know, when I did do all that, you know, there wasn't money coming in,
right,
but I had saved enough money to be good, and
same.
And I laid it all out. But you were also DJing, like, we did other things that made us money based on our skill sets. Like, me and Barry started designing websites because we knew how to design websites. Yeah. So that was more of our business.
I think at the beginning, that's kind of what kept us afloat. That kind of is what paid for, like, WeWork and stuff. Like, Sworn itself was making money. It was paying for its production, but was it profiting? I don't know at the time.
It was stability. It was stable.
It was like paying itself, and you were just flat.
So. Yeah. You weren't making any money, but you weren't losing any money.
And your expenses were all covered, so it's kind of like you were living off.
But on the websites, like, we were building like a website a month, or like 2 websites a month. Yeah. And that was enough to be like, that was enough to eat.
Yeah, for sure.
And because, you know, they paid well, we did them well, all our clients were happy, and there was just like a referral thing that just kept kind of like rolling down. So, like, also, like, figure out a hustle. That's very important. You know, if that didn't exist, I don't know if we'd be here today.
True.
Because that helped us, like, some people might call you like an overnight success, or I don't even think we're a success yet. I think we have, like, tons to grow. Yeah. But the hustle thing is, like, what made it. So, like, building websites, me and Barry started doing, like, we had a camera, so it was just like,
video, photos.
We started doing videos for restaurants, and then we were like, we can manage your Instagram. We can
manage your ads.
We can manage your ads.
We can set emails for you.
Yeah, like, we were just like, and the restaurant business really became, like, more of the, so that was the other business we had that's called Premier Group LA. So that's where we started, like, consulting for other businesses
with the stuff that we learned in the previous jobs and our experience with Sworn. And I think there was a point in time, I think there was an entire year where I think our focus shifted from Sworn to Premier Group, and that, I think, affected sales. I think we saw that year kind of went down, and I think that's just our head was somewhere else, and then we kind of reshifted gears the following year, and everything kind of flipped upside down.
Yeah, because the money was there.
It was instant.
It was visual. It was like, it was a steady job. Yeah. We transformed that. Yeah. But, you know, we got some major clients, and they saw success. Yeah. And we learned a whole new industry. We learned, like selling a T-shirt, like, we have to come out with a new design every 2 weeks, every month, and we have to be on trend. A restaurant has to come out with a solid menu and just be consistent. Right. So, like, we saw that, like, that's way easier.
For sure.
I mean, the same photo you take today, you can use it in 3 years as long as it's high quality.
And it's other people's money at the end of the day, too.
Exactly. If it fails, it's a job. It's like
your time.
Yeah, it's just your time, and you noodle.
Yeah.
That's what helped. And I still take jobs, like,
random consulting
every now and then. And those things are the things that, like, push you ahead.
And I think that's a big thing, too. When you get to a certain point, it's kind of like you don't. Just because you can do a certain job in an hour doesn't mean you're worth less. It's kind of like now you're worth more because you can handle this problem that somebody couldn't figure out for an entire month in a single hour. So that value is way higher. So you can charge a premium because of your experience.
Yeah. So, like, one thing I say, like, if you're going to take this leap of faith and, like, quit your job, like, tomorrow, like, figure out some hustles. Like, hey, if you drive Uber, if you're going to do Uber Eats, if you're going to go, like, bartend, like, something just to make, like, as long as you can make your rent, you know, whatever money you need to survive, and if your business makes it, great.
Right.
But that way you're, I mean, again, like I'm very safe
For
about it. Like think about other ways you can make money, like or save enough money so you can focus on it.
Yeah.
But
I think you got to treat each day, treat each order like it's your last. Like I think that's a very important mentality to have because once you get comfortable and complacent, like I think that's when shit starts going downwards.
yeah, another thing to like pretend like you're never getting any more customers. Try to keep all the customers you have like happy.
Return customers are gold.
Yeah, that should be a major part of your business versus like new customers. Because if your new customers aren't returning, like you're doing something wrong,
right?
Or you're like a one-hit wonder,
right? Being in the position you're at now, what more do you want to get out of this? Like everything you're doing now, from Swarm, from Premiere, from your other consulting things. Like, what do you see yourself doing in the next 2-3 years?
It's almost a lifestyle choice. Like, definitely want to take my relationship to the next level. Like family, yes. Family. Like, make myself happy outside.
That was gonna
work.
be my question. Are you happy now? Because obviously you went through phases of, just complacentness and unhappiness from, like I said, Vans, Home Depot, your last job. Like now being in the position you're at and doing all these things and you have a lot more weight on your shoulders because now the whole business is kind of like it's every day matters. Everything like what you do today matters tomorrow. So with all that being said, are you happy?
I think I am happy because things could be worse.
Yeah.
Debt free. Like I talk to other people and they're in different situations. So I'm like, I think I'm in the best situation I can like.
And you can control it.
Yeah, I think I'm in the best situation I could physically be in, mentally be in. There's things I do want to work on, but I think it's time to take like mental health and
your personal life
like to the next level.
That's a big thing, is disconnecting from like this type of industry, this type of like work that we do. It's very hard to disconnect because it's like I said, like it's all on our shoulders. Like if we don't show up to work today, like the shit has to get done tomorrow and it just stacks up. So I think those things are very hard to like unplug from. So I think taking care of yourself at home is also very important.
I mean, I left the house, yesterday at 9 a.m. and I got home at 9:30 because I came here, worked, and then
Danny left to get a tattoo.
We were man down yesterday, so I put in the extra time, went to our embroiderers, like had that conversation, went to our sew house, and then I'm like creeping in like at 9:30, and it's like that's not good for my relationship
For sure.
because I'll see what's the right word? I'll see my partner.
It's cute.
Yeah, I'll see my girlfriend. Like we live together. I think 3 years.
Yeah.
We've lived together for 3 years, but she'll see me in the morning for like 2 hours, and then she'll get like 2 hours at the end of the day, and that's not healthy. And we have a dog, so like I want to minimize that. I got to get a little bit more. I got to get better at like separating the two.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Like I'm going on vacation next week, and I'll be gone for 7 days, and I'm like,
and I'm sure you're fucking cringing inside for like leaving the fucking office without yourself. Like
I mean, I've been here every Saturday for the last month.
Yeah.
And it's just because I'm like, I gotta work.
And I think that's just because business has luckily picked up for us a lot this past month and a half. So I think if things continue to go in that trend, I mean, then I'm sure we'll have the conversation of like bringing in somebody to handle just shipping or just things that can take it out of our plate, so we can focus on other things and you can go home and all that kind of stuff. So it's all depends on how things go.
Yeah, it all comes with growth and like I have to like mentally separate, letting things go. And I've had the conversation with Barry, like, do we bring someone on?
Yeah.
Like, how much do we have to trust them? It's a scary. You're inviting someone into your home.
Yeah.
And this thing that you built and everything, like every hat we ship gets touched by two of us at least.
At least.
Like, I'll look at it, make sure it's all good. The Barry will look at it, or someone else will look at it, and bag it and tag it. So like, our quality control is there, but like, is someone else like someone out like
is someone that cares not as much as we do?
Because some of the stuff that gets to us that's already been quality controlled by another company
is different.
They're just like, oh, this is cool. They're not gonna notice this, but
yeah, I mean, it took for the longest we were like embroidery. I mean, we were sewing up all our hats, and it took a while for you to trust somebody else to do that. So, I mean, it's little things. I think it's growing pains. I think within time, we will be able to figure that dynamic out. But like you said, like we built this from the ground up, and it's very hard for us to let go. And we've seen other businesses fail because people are kind of so far out. So we want to make sure that we do as much as we can to make sure everything is to our spec.
Yeah, it's to circle back on your happiness, on the happiness part. Like, I think everyone's measure of happiness is different.
Right.
Some people want the flashy cars. Some people want like do it for Instagram.
We just want to lift the Sequoia, the Tundra.
You know, some people want to do it for others.
Right.
And I'm like, I was working on my truck and put a lift kit on it, and I was very like, do I have to spend this? I don't want to spend this money.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that shit made me happy as fuck. Like, traveling makes me happy. Like, being around my family makes me happy. So I'm starting to appreciate these like other things and like seeing that money isn't everything.
That's a big thing that I think Instagram like fucks a lot of people up on, because like you see the people with the fucking Lamborghinis, the BMWs, the fucking Mercedes, and you're just like, they made it, they're happy. Like, but it's really like, no, that's just like, that doesn't equate to anything.
I drive an 06 Tundra and I am happy as fuck.
It's lifted, it got rim, it got metal wheels, it's vanilla as fuck, but it's cool as fuck.
Like, I would love to get a new car, but like, I'm doing that for other people.
Right.
Like, it's not me. It's not like, it's not how I was brought up. Like, I've driven a salvage car my whole life. Yeah. Like, the day
there's nothing wrong with that.
Again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all salvage. Like,
for sure. No car, no. Like, you're doing it right.
Yeah, like, the day I walk into a dealer and leave with a car, my dad's gonna be mad as fuck.
Unless it's a used car or some shit.
That's the day I'll be like, all right, he did it. I did it.
He did something right.
Like, but like, my goal is buying a house.
Right.
That's where my head's at. Like, buying maybe it's not our forever home, but it's like
a home
that we can build, we can paint, like we can make it our like sanctuary.
Right.
So that's like where my happiness is like headed. The business stuff, these are trophies. These are like milestones in life where I'm like, did that shit. Like making it through Corona, well, making it this far into Corona is like, yo, like we did that.
It's
like,
a milestone for sure.
There's been a lot of people that have failed.
Right.
For different, you know, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. Industries are affected. Our business kind of went up.
Yeah.
What happened? No clue. But
I think it was a perfect storm too. I mean, we were also like on our toes, so we were making sure we were putting out product. We were putting things out that we felt people wanted, and we just did it quick. We did things very fast, and I think that's kind of what helped us, is just being on our toes.
Yeah, we never stopped.
Yeah.
Like, I was here. I came to the office. Maybe I didn't come to the office like the first 2-3 days.
Yeah, I think we were all a little like unsure.
Yeah, but after that, I was just like, let's go.
We got it, yeah.
We're all in. And Barry was actually out of the office that whole time. And
I just had a baby.
Yeah.
Or I was pregnant.
One time for Soul.
Woo.
She got to
show up Monday.
She got to show up to work, bro.
Yeah, she'd be late all the time.
I was telling Barry that she has to, you know, early on, like 3-4 years old.
Put in her hours.
Tell her how to like tape boxes and quality control and fold. So by the time she goes to preschool, she's like, has 20 years work experience.
Fucking suckers. What is one key piece of advice you leave to the people listening, people watching? What's one thing that you want them to take away from this entire interview?
Oh, it's the hardest question.
Yes, it is. Think about it.
I think just like educate yourself in it. Start looking like I hate when people are like, hey, you know, what can I do to make my business? Oh, like, what's the name of your business? Like, do you have a website? Right. Like, take the fucking first steps.
Right. People want the entire book before even putting their fucking first step on it.
Educate yourself. Like, ask questions, but know enough to ask the question.
There's questions you can find answers to on Google. Like, don't waste my time with that shit.
Yeah,
like,
don't tell me
if you don't know how to like start a website or buy a domain, like you shouldn't be asking those questions yet, bro. Like, you haven't done enough research on your own.
That's my biggest thing is like, people, how do I start a clothing brand? How do I do this? How do I do that? And it's like, oh, what's the name of your business? Well, I don't have that. I haven't like got that far. And it's like, well, like,
you can't. Nobody can take you serious if you don't take yourself serious yet.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna waste my time. Right. Again, I love wasting my time and talking to people about this stuff, but like now that my time, like those conversations are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Yeah. But you know, have the name of your business, what you envision it, because I'm gonna challenge you with questions. Like I'm gonna be like, well, why not this? Why not that?
Like devil's advocate. Yeah.
Yeah. So at least do enough research, put some stuff on paper, like take the next step. And I think that's let me wrap all that back up. So like educate yourself and take the next step to whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And set little milestones for yourself. Like, hey, by this day I want to do this. By this day I want to do this. Like even having a website up is huge.
Right.
Whether it's a personal website, whether you're selling something, like whatever it may be, like that's a big step. And it's almost, I mean, you can do it on Squarespace.
Yeah.
Shout out. Squarespace sponsor this.
Bad, right. So there you go. Episode number 2, season number 2.
Let's go.
My man, Jerry all day. Greasy Jerry. Jerry Avila, Gerardo Avila, Mr. I print money in my sleep.
Let's go.
Thank you for tuning in, bro. I mean, thank you for joining me and taking the time, because I know you're definitely cringing with all this shit right here.
Yeah, there's a clusterfuck.
There's hats, there's shorts, there's a lot of shit that needs to get steamed.
Stress level.
Yeah, stress level's a little high. We try to come in a little early to knock this out, but that never works out. It's like noon now.
But it's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have. And, I think we're also working our way to incorporate a Sworn to Us podcast, where we talk more about what we do in the business and like a little more deep dive in that. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. But thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. This is Hustling. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow my man Jerry all day.
One more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Shop sworntous.com.
And use coupon code Jerry all day.
Don't give discounts, bro.
And maybe you'll get a discount. Maybe you won't. Depends how Mr. Jerry feels.
Nah, support your family. Support your friends. Don't ask for discounts.
Pay full price, bitches.
Yeah. Hit the outro.
Oh,
hit the outro. Yeah. Hey. Let me get some gunshots. I don't need gunshots.
I don't really got gunshots lined up like that.
I'll put them in post.
All right. Peace out.